think vast majority of this trial was played out on social media. I think that this trial is an example of that gone haywire, gone amok, and the jury is not immune to that.
You think the jury saw it?
How could they not? I think even the most well-intentioned juror, it would have been impossible to avoid this. I felt less than human.
I just were frankly disgusted by the whole thing and don't have much sympathy for either one of you.
Hi, besties. Welcome back to my channel. I've been thinking a lot about Blake Lively and Amber Heard, given that Variety just got a quote from Amber Heard's former attorney, Elaine. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about how Blake Lively seemingly is pulling an Amber Heard and how she's using the same tired playbook that many celebrities use when they're found in the middle of public scandal and controversy based upon their own choices. So today's video is personal to me because I'm not just talking about this trend that's happening with lawyers and in courts, but I'm living through it. Blake Lively's legal team is targeting creators, including myself, with invasive subpoenas. Why? Because we've been covering a public federal court case. And now she's being praised by Amber Heard's former lawyer, Elaine Breedhoft, the same lawyer who also claimed her client was destroyed by a coordinated smear campaign. It's like history is repeating itself. So let's break this down. How did we get here? Why are creators being treated like criminals for talking about public documents? And why is the same tired narrative that bots and hate campaigns are behind every backlash being used again? So let's be honest, you guys, when celebrities and their images start to tumble and crumble, many of their PR teams and their lawyers use the same playbook. First is they ignore the backlash, then they blame trolls, and then they say it's a smear campaign. We saw this all play out with Amber Heard during her defamation trial. Public opinion turned on her, not because of bots, not because of misogyny, because millions of people watched the trial live and simply didn't find her testimony credible. Memes of her were created, images and videos of her went viral. Her own words and her own testimony became sound bites on the internet because people didn't believe what she said, her candor, her delivery, and the evidence that Depp had didn't match what she claimed. She was caught lying on the stand, contradicting herself, and spinning a story that didn't hold up under cross-examination. And yet her legal team insisted it was all the result of an online war. Elaine Breedenhoft, yes, the same woman I'm about to talk about, ran with this narrative in the press, and she's now doing it again. So now we have Blake Lively, who's in the middle of her own legal mess that she's done all by herself just because she wants authorship of everything. She's being accused of misusing the court system, issuing subpoenas in this lawsuit that had no defendants to collect private information on people who had the nerve to talk about her failed movie project, It Ends With Us. The failed movie project was the backlash she received online, and it was due to when the film rolled out, statements she made on the red carpet. It was organic and it was in real time. Let's be clear, this backlash didn't come out of nowhere. The film's rollout was widely criticized. People questioned the casting, the tone-deaf costuming, how the serious subject matter was being handled. The internet responded organically. Fans, survivors, creators, and even casual viewers shared their opinion. That's not a smear campaign. That's called public feedback. And if you can't handle criticism, I don't know, maybe don't push your creative projects into the public eye. I think some of the most telling criticism for me with her had to do with one video that was posted by Wayfair, by the way, on the It Ends With Us social media. which was Blake saying, grab your florals or your friends, come join us. And Blake consistently referring to this film as a big, flowery summer movie. Additionally, other choices that she made, like having an after party where she promoted her alcohol line and named a drink after a character in the film that was accused of violence, that that viewers witnessed violently attack her character Lily in the film and attempt to essay. She made a drink about him. On the public speaking tour where she did interviews, she candidly spoke about how her character loved Ryle. Ryle was a great guy. She downplayed the role of domestic violence. Those were all her choices. And the marketing was designed and coordinated by her and her husband, Ryan Reynolds. Apparently, Blake and Amber don't really understand how the internet really works, when something controversial happens, and how creators react or independent journalists react, and how videos are made, and how clips even go viral, and how hashtags trend. The algorithm really doesn't care about what your PR strategy is. What it responds to is engagement. And so if a lot of people are starting to talk about what they're watching someone do, like with Amber Heard and her crocodile tears or her flat out lies on the stand or the contradictions, the just ridiculous delivery she had, it felt like a very performative. Once the algorithm sees that this is becoming a topic that's being heavily talked about, it's going to start circulating those videos, which was no different than what happened with Blake Lively. And as far as like independent journalists go and content creators, we don't manufacture the drama. We respond to what's happening and we report on what's happening. I've never spoken to Justin Baldoni. I have no affiliation with his team. I'm simply reporting on what's happening in open court and filings that anyone can access. And my Pacer bill for the month of, like, the 3 months of the spring will prove to you that I was spending a lot of money covering this case. And the suggestion that content creators are part of some sort of organized smear effort is just wrong, and it's dangerous. And it's being used to justify legal overreach and intimidation of people who are just doing their jobs. So, this is where I take issue and why I'm going to bring Amber into the conversation. Because Elaine Breedhoff was quoted and cited in a recent Variety article. She publicly praised Blake Lively's legal team for issuing subpoenas against dozens of social media users and content creators. And here's what she said word for word. They basically annihilated her. I think it's great Blake Lively's legal team is trying to get in front of it. How else do you fight this? How else do you fight this? Fight what? Criticism? Responding to public documents and false allegations? You engage with criticism and you accept criticism and you grow from it and you become accountable from it. You take responsibility for the choices that you made, the missteps you took, the people you apologize to the people that you offended. That's truly how you fight it. You don't attack the people reporting on it. But what you don't do also, Miss Elaine, is applaud efforts to subpoena creators for financial records, private messages, or social media activity just because they reported on a public case. You know, I was so perturbed by this today that I was frankly angry because Elaine's quote was included in an article which highlighted a creator named Ken, someone that I've actually gotten to know, a mom that has a young child. She's a survivor of domestic violence. She lives in Kansas and doesn't have, all this money to pay for lawyers. She can't even afford an attorney to cover and properly respond to a motion to quash. And as I'm learning and hearing from more creators involved in this, most of them don't have the money to fight this, which begs the question is that if they can't fight it in court, it means they don't have the power or the wealth to fight a celebrity who is abusing the federal system with subpoena power to gain access to personal and private bank records. And so what I did with my outrage, because I was thinking about these creators that are being maligned now, is I emailed Elaine directly. I had to, because she's not just praising legal tactics, she's implicitly endorsing the invasion of privacy of people like me. So here's what I sent to her. I'm reaching out to express my deep concern and disappointment in your recent comments to Variety regarding Blake Lively's legal team and their subpoena efforts targeting social media users and content creators. They basically annihilated her. I think it's great that Blake Lively's legal team is trying to get in front of it. How else do you fight this? As one of the creators directly impacted by these subpoenas, I feel compelled to clarify my position. I am an independent journalist reporting in good faith on a matter of significant public interest, namely a high profile federal court case involving public figures and legal proceedings that are by nature open to public scrutiny. I have no professional or personal ties to Justin Baldoni and no vested interest in smearing Blake Lively or anyone. My coverage is grounded in publicly available documents and protected under my First Amendment right. The assumption that criticism or inquiry must be rooted in some coordinated campaign is not only incorrect, it's dangerous. The support you voiced praising the use of subpoenas to access private financial records of individuals like myself, many of whom are simply exercising their right to report, comment, or engage in public discourse, sends a chilling message. Some of those being targeted are also survivors of domestic violence, now facing further distress for speaking out or covering issues that intersect with their lived experience. I urge you to reflect on the implications of endorsing such sweeping legal tactics without fully understanding who is being swept up in them. Legitimate journalism and survivor advocacy should not be treated as collateral damage in a public relations strategy masquerading as a legal maneuver. Most of the creators being targeted are not millionaires. We are regular people who cannot afford attorneys to fight back against this kind of invasive legal overreach. The chilling effect of these actions is already being felt, and your support of them only amplifies the harm. Sincerely, Katie Paulson. She did not respond, and she hasn't yet, but that's okay. I had to get it. And I don't expect to receive a reply. I just needed her to know the reality of how her words and how her praising of a legal team and how that praise actually harms people, especially the people who don't and have the resources to fight this in court. So, what's the real danger here? Let's talk about it. When a wealthy celebrity or celebrities use the court to subpoena creators for simply talking about them, it sends a chilling message. If you criticize us, we'll come after you. That's not just unethical, it's anti democratic. And this isn't happening to millionaire YouTubers. It's happening to small creators and survivors and independent reporters, people who don't have legal teams or corporate backing, people who can't afford to fight back. These celebrities are framing themselves as victims of harassment when in reality, they're trying to silence criticism by turning commentary into legal liability. And the media, the mainstream media, they're eating it up and they completely drive this narrative home and they call commentary online as trash, eco slop, misogynistic. Blake Lively and Amber Heard, they aren't being attacked. They're being held accountable. There's a difference. And if they can't handle the reality that not everyone will love them, believe them, or support their creative choices, they maybe then maybe they shouldn't weaponize the law to go after people who dare to say so. Creators and independent journalism and journalists are not the enemy. We're not bots. We're not paid operatives. We're people with voices, platforms, and rights. And I want to point out that Variety's article, which actually interviewed me, and I was not quoted or cited, even though I spent money and had my attorney provide them a statement. And also, my attorney gave them the contact information for Shasti Law's attorney, who was then quoted in their article. I just want to state that they're bringing up that there's these parallels between Amber Heard and Blake Lively. And I'm pretty tired of the mainstream media giving Amber Heard's story credibility and Blake Lively's story credibility. So before I go, I want to dive deeper into the parallels here between Blake and Amber's legal strategies because it's not about subpoenas and smear campaigns. It's about a disturbing pattern of blaming others for their own actions and making false allegations that have serious consequences for men who are targeted. Amber Heard famously accused Johnny Depp of abuse, but the court records, testimonies, and verdicts exposed numerous inconsistencies and falsehoods in her claims. The public saw through that. It wasn't a smear campaign. It was just the truth that came out. And now Blake is doing something very similar. Through her legal filings and the way she's framed the case, she's effectively blaming Justin Baldoni for problems that stem from her own decisions. The lawsuit she initiated, initially, the Van Zam, involved no named defendants in the beginning. Yet she used the case to subpoena Baldoni's records without his knowledge. It's a move that looks less like a search for justice and more like an attempt to weaponize the legal system against a man who isn't even formally accused of wrongdoing. This mirrors Amber's strategy in a way: deflect, blame, paint the other party as the villain, and use the court to intimidate and control the narrative rather than seek truth or accountability. And here's the reality for Justin Baldoni and for many men who find themselves unfairly targeted by these tactics. This can ruin careers, reputations, and lives. Yet the public and the media often give the benefit of the doubt to the one making the loudest accusations, even if those accusations don't hold up under scrutiny. Blake Lively is trying to rewrite the story by attacking the people speaking out, creators, journalists, and survivors, rather than owning her own role in the controversy, just like Amber Heard. She's weaponizing victimhood and legal tools to silence criticism and shift blame. And at the end of the day, these legal maneuvers aren't about justice, they're about power, they're about control, and they're about avoiding responsibility. So when you hear Blake Lively claim she's the victim of a smear campaign and coordinated attack, remember, she's the one who chose to enter the spotlight with a controversial project, who initiated lawsuits without clear defendants, and who's accusing a man of crimes without substantiated evidence. And remember that behind public spectacle are real people, like Justin Baldoni, creators like me, and many others caught in the crossfire of these celebrity battles. If we want a fair and just system, we need to see through the smoke and mirrors, and we need to call out false accusations and abusive legal tactics, no matter who's behind them. I'll let you know if Amber Heard's attorney gets back to me, but I want to just leave you with this. If you believe in press freedom and independent journalism and the right to criticize powerful people, do me a favor and like this video, comment, and share. And if you're one of the creators being impacted by this, just know this: you're not alone, and we're not going to back down. And I got my first bill for my legal fight against Blake. And thankfully, everything that I've raised thus far was able to cover the cost. And that's all. So if you want to continue your efforts to help me fight Blake Lively, please consider donating to my PayPal, Venmo. You can send super thanks directly to the channel or my Cash App. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for this trip down memory lane, and I'll let you know if Elaine ever gets back to me. Make sure to sound off below. Bye, besties.